Hello, 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 friends. Nicholas here with DIVO, TED Talks, Devoted Talks. And I am thinking about, and have been thinking about a lot lately, where, after my mom died, I was really trying to find a new way of being. Like my identity had completely changed beyond the fact that I was devastated. But who am I if I don't have a mom? Who is Nicholas if he doesn't have Melissa as his mother? Who is that guy that no longer has a mom who, according to the court system, when they finished her estate, it was called orphan court. Oh my God, can you imagine that? Getting mail from orphan court? Ooh. That was from the state of Maryland, by the way. But I could barely breathe for like 6 months. But um, over time, I got my breath back and I got my stride back, but it took a long time. I couldn't read for a while because I couldn't retain information in the same way that I had. I had to consume a lot of things through audio and video because that was the only way my brain could process after that. And so the process took the time that it took, but also involved me trying to find remedy of what I was feeling and the challenges I was experiencing so that I felt better by picturing a life that I wanted. This goes back to my ideal nature and my idealistic nature. And so I found myself trying to get in groups and find statusy type things. I try to find who I knew, find the potential that I knew I had, because even before my mom passed away, I was a part of multi-level marketing groups, and I'm like, I know that I have the power to be this successful person, but I don't like to do things the way other people do things. I like to do them my way, and I like people who are around me to do things my way, not necessarily forcing somebody to be something, but I know how things work, and I can see and excel in the framework from which I come from. And so trying to be and do things other people's way just never was my jam. And so I found success in my own way, and I sold things in my own way, and I did well, but not nearly as well as I probably could have had I had the wherewithal to really recognize my way of doing things is the perfect way, because that is who I was always made, measured, and meant to be. And anything outside of that is only just harming myself. And not necessarily harming myself, isn't serving me as well as it could, isn't serving me at levels that it has the potential to. I like to be very judicious with my words, right? I don't like to say things I don't mean. I like to mean what I say, and I like to mean what I say what I mean. And I got into these different groups and stuff, and I was looking at them as a solution, as a becoming, as a transformation in and of themselves. And it just ended up being like more of this stuff that I find myself doing, like buying the books. I just set up a library in the studio and I have 1,000,000 books, and I've only cracked about 5 to 10 of them, and that's a whole bookshelf full, like a big bookshelf, like a 4-foot tall bookshelf and wide. And I don't get me wrong, like I do believe things being within our orbit, whether we read them or not, has influence, and at subtle levels that we probably aren't aware of. Definitely aren't aware of. But the weight and the gravity can change and evolve and increase the more we have interaction with those things. Sorry, my my brain was trying to veer off, and I'm just not going to do it. I can think about text messages after I finish recording. I didn't actually read one, by the way. My brain was like, ooh, I want to say this. Like, hello, here, recording, I'm back, listeners. And so what I found was that I didn't even really necessarily want to be in these things. One, I didn't have an accurate picture of what they were, but that's part of the sales process. People sell what they think you want, and so you buy it, but then they give you, quote unquote, sometimes what you need, but sometimes they don't actually have what they said they have. And there's nothing wrong with that. But some of them, for me, were very expensive purchases that left me going, oh, I could have done better than that, right? And so going back to that idea of doing things my way, because that's where I'm going to excel. and like they had processes, and I would try to do them, but they just didn't work for me. And then I would try to adapt them for me, but then I just got disinterested because I'm like, I'm paying to get help with this. And then all I'm ending up doing is reinventing their stuff to do it my way. And why am I paying somebody to do things my way? And so there may be an opportunity to step back, to take the purview of your life in context and notice, do I really want this? Do I really need this? Like, what do I really want? What do I really need? Am I just trying to fulfill something as a medicine to assuage, to deaden the pain, to numb, or whatever? I would say most of the time that is happening. Now, I do have a contrast to that. Like, now that I've been upfitting the studio a lot, like I've seen needs and I'm like, oh, that will work. And then buying within the context of the need rather than the context of the want or the context of a predetermination of the way things should be rather than an actualization of what is. And so, in fear of getting sideways with this, I'll bring it back to yoga. Regular practice, consistent practice allows for a steadiness so that you can start to understand what you need. And one of the aspects of yoga is that, we want clarity of mind and clarity of perception so that we don't mistake things for one thing when they're actually something else, like mistaking a rope for a snake or something else as a solution when it actually becomes a problem in and of itself. And part of it is this, we're so overloaded and poorly digested, whether it's food or information or experience, that we can't see things clearly. In many ways, we spend our time dopamine out. Look at the prevalency of, Parkinson's. Like, it's a lot of people who don't produce much dopamine anymore. And everybody else is just like trying to continually get their dopamine and adrenaline fixes. And within that, you're not making clear choices because you're intoxicated on the hormones and the inner pharmacies to which we are stimulating constantly. And in many ways, marketing and sales is meant to stimulate that so that you get that thing that you didn't know you needed because maybe you didn't know that you needed it. Right? Like, that sounds weird, right? Like, they're telling you didn't know that you needed this, but look, you need this, so buy it. Rather than, oh, this is the thing that I need, and then you search for it. I personally have found that to be amazing lately. Like, I was thinking the other day, man, I just need something so that I don't have to take water jugs home, fill them with water to come back and fill my humidifiers, because our sinks are very small here, and there isn't really anything outside of the toilet water that could be utilized for that. And I was like, I need a hose that hooks to a faucet that is in a house. And I did a search and I found something on Amazon that does that. Now, granted, it was the floor guy who told me that such a thing existed, but then I found it and voila, I had a solution to my problem rather than somebody coming up and saying, hey, you need this thing from me. Why don't you get it now? And buying into their story. I'm bought into my story. And once I'm in my story, through regular practice and through meditation and yoga and, alignment, then I know what I need rather than somebody else telling me what I need. Ugh. Why did I get to that? It took me the whole 9 minutes to get to that. That was a good closing, and I like it. Remember that, friends. Rewind it, listen to it again, and then be well and be free.